back to the Death by Tyranny podcast. I just thought I'd hop on here. It's been a few days. Everybody at my work has the plague, so knowing my luck, I caught the plague as well. And I don't very much like coming on here very low energy because the things I talk about, I think they're very important, and to talk about them without any kind of strong emotion doesn't seem to get the point across very well. Now, the last couple of podcasts that I did do that I managed to get out, we were talking about the Second Amendment and all of the people who are pretty much saying that the Second Amendment is there for the last resort, that it is only there for defensive purposes, which I agree with. It is there for a defensive purpose. You wouldn't want to use the Second Amendment or to go to war with the federal government before you necessarily had to. But my issue with the whole thing is most people talk about it as if it's never going to happen. The lines that they are setting in the sand are artificial. They have no meaning to them. Or, you have two types. You have the people who are making the lines in the sand for everything. Hey, you can't have my pistol braces. At the pistol braces, that's the line in the sand. That is when we will officially be forced to use the Second Amendment to combat a tyrannical government. You have those types. And then you have the ones who say that the pistol brace isn't worthy enough. That's not the hill that we wish to die on. That they will have to come to our individual homes and drag our individual families out and to attack us. And some of them even brought it, make it more broad than that, saying that if they came into their communities and attacked their communities, at that point, that would be the time that they could justify using the Second Amendment. And all of these people included that I just listed like to use what the forefathers did, the words in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, to justify owning firearms. They use all of those things in their actions for their reasoning on why they should be allowed to own the artillery that they have and why they should not be forced to obey unconstitutional laws. But there's a lot of context that ends up getting lost in the woods that we're not paying attention to. And it seems to be that the media is only painting two types of people, and this is the media, whether it be on our side or against us. On our side, we are saying that the federal government, whether it be tyrannical or not, has not done enough to justify open combat or open civil war amongst the general population and the federal government. And then on the media side that is against us, according to them, it is already undergoing. Both of these concepts and theories are relevant and important. The most important one being the opposing side, saying that what we are doing is actually spawning or kicking off a civil war as we speak. Us even being allowed to own these style of weapons is just egging on the rest of the population to actually do something that is violent towards the federal government. And then our side, it's almost as if we're at the party and somebody is just hitting on her girlfriend over and over again. We keep standing up to do something about it, and our friends are like, it's not worth it. You don't need to go to jail tonight, man. It's just words. But then the guy starts smacking your girl around, and they're still going, hey, man, he's a dick. It's not worth it. We have more to lose. Okay, well, now the guy is literally raping, sorry to be graphic, but literally raping your girl right in front of you. And the people around you, your friends, they're still saying it's not worth it. It's not the right time. That's where we are in the atmosphere, the political atmosphere of the United States today. The government is so tyrannical that they're not even trying to hide it. They're almost boasting about it. Every day, if you can't guarantee the weather, you can guarantee that the Biden administration, the DNC, or some form of federal government will try to push the boundaries on what they can and can't do. Oh, we can't raise taxes during a recession. We can't make it harder on the middle class. We can't be flat broke and still lend billions to countries that do not matter. Watch us. Oh, you have a Second Amendment that protects these weapons. You should be allowed to form, train, and uphold the militia in case of a federal tyrannical takeover. Absolutely not. They have literally done everything that they had done to our forefathers to spawn that situation that led up to the Revolutionary War. But there are things that are missing. The things that are missing is, and Dan Holloway did a very good podcast, it's episode 25 on the Citizen Podcast, talking about how educated people amongst our forefathers wrote out our grievances and sent them to Britain saying, these are the things that are tyrannical. We need you to stop them. And this is how and why they are hurting our people in the colonial colonies. And some would say, even Dan Holloway himself, which I agree with a lot, say we have not done this step yet. We have not gone out with someone of good educated stature and addressed our grievances to the federal government. I, however, beg to differ. I think that whether Trump being the president and him part of the federal government, I think what he did and why he was so disliked was he was stating the grievances of the people. Not to mention, we have a platform that we use in Congress for people to come up and discuss and make known their grievances of the federal government. So unless what we are waiting for is someone like a Bill Gates to join our side to express these grievances, this is never going to happen. And like I said, in my opinion, this has happened. Not the Bill Gates portion of it, but people of importance stepping up to the plate and expressing our grievances and why this does not work for the American people anymore. Every day you open a newspaper to some congresswoman, Nancy Pelosi, whoever, that is mocking us. People like Dan Crenshaw that is saying that they should be allowed to do insider trading. They should be allowed to break the law to make an abundance amount of money because they are the chosen ones. That is no longer a democracy. This is a hierarchy where only gods and kings are chosen, and this is how they view themselves. We are the peasants, and we are expected to look the other way while they break the law and put our lives into turmoil. So, to me, no matter how well and thought out and good of a concept Dan Holloway's theory is on that we need to write out and express our grievances to the federal government, no matter how well the intent, it's already been done. So in my eyes, this is just another guy at the bar watching your girl get her ass whooped, telling you it's not the right time, it's not worth it. And we've already discussed at length if we wait until this conflict and this tyrannical government impacts us on an individual level, then first off, we do not stand for liberty for all or freedom for all. We only stand for it for ourselves. Second, if that's what we are waiting for, is for this to completely and utterly stop our everyday lives when it comes to our liberty and freedoms before we do anything, it's going to be too late. And no one is going to step up and help us when it is our time to be stuck in the gas chamber. That is literally where we are at in the United States of America today. It isn't hard to find out or see where we are on a map of history. We all know history repeats itself or rhymes, and in this case, it is repeating itself almost identically. You have one party of the government shutting down and making criminals out of the other party. You also have that same party of that federal government making civilians 50%, if not more, of the civilian population out to be monsters, criminals, you know, evil people that spread diseases, these being the conservatives. It's cringy to say this, but the Biden administration is literally taking a play out of Hitler's pre World War I journals against the Jews and just changed Jews to conservatives. And I'm with you. I hear how cringy that sounds, but it is absolutely the truth. So now, what do we do from here? And we have to find a way to get people out of this slumber, this mindset, this daze that they are in, that the only time that Second Amendment is there is in case of emergencies, break glass after the building is already on fire. At that point, that one extinguisher is probably not going to be enough to put out the flames. In fact, us as United States citizens, we are on the 100th floor of that building, and we are going to be forced to either burn alive or jump. And I know that is a very tragic, tragic image, especially with 9/11 just passing. But the horrors to come are going to be just as devastating if we let this get any further. We are actually losing the people that would be able to help us in this fight. And the more ready, willing, and able we are to combat the federal government, the more peaceful it will be. If we go at it like hillbillies in the woods, running and hiding and eating squirrels to survive, while we hold our hands over our children's mouths so they don't cry out while we're being hunted by redcoats in the woods, that is the violent, tragic end that these people say, you don't want war, you don't know what it looks like. That is what it's going to look like if we let it get to that point. Right now, we still do have conservatives and well-rounded people, even non-political people that just have common sense, that still have the ability to let their voice be heard. They still have somewhat of a ability to capture and gain financials. Yes, going out and teaching tactics is all fine and dandy, but if you noticed, especially if you are in the more inner circles of the smaller gun community, it is going from close quarter battle training, clearing rooms. That time has passed. This is no longer trying to show us the cool shit from Afghanistan that some of us weren't either privy to or not brave enough to go do ourselves. Now we are talking about open guerrilla warfare against a very powerful, if not the most powerful, government that has ever set foot on this planet. And if you've been watching any of the footage from Ukraine, it is going to be team tactics. No one man clearing houses, no one man with a small tent in the woods. It is going to be moving and maneuvering around. It's going to be plenty of ambushes. But I think that the best course of action here is not to be secretive about it. I know OPSEC is a real thing, but here we aren't facing the Russians here. We are facing weak cowards that don't even know what sexuality they are. So confidence, ability, these things will scare them. Once we show them that we have the ability to gather, that we have the numbers, obviously we have the numbers, but if we can convince the numbers to join us and actually do mindful training that will actually help us in some type of a civil conflict, like which is inevitable, this is the best course of action to avoid violence. The thought that Joe Biden would nuke the United States and the other half of the American citizens is absurd. The ability for martial law and to send in the National Guard will only do so much if there are enough people willing and training with the right tools and right tactics. Right now, they keep pushing, they keep doing things to egg us on because they want that one-off scenario that can justify them to take more from us. But here's the thing. Even if that doesn't happen, they are going to continue to take. It's just at what rate will they take it from us? If they go out and say white people are all terrorists and everyone who owns an AR-15 are domestic terrorists, there's going to be a one-off person come out, shoot up a gas station, and at least that state, if not on a federal level, will help push the assault weapon ban. And even the assault weapon ban that they have in play may push enough people to do something that will justify their cause. But understand, even if we are good little boys and girls and stay in our lanes as conservatives, they are going to continue taking. Okay, the assault weapon ban doesn't pass before this November. Guess what? If Joe Biden gets the 2 seats that he needs, they will immediately try to pass it again and they will win. They will never stop. At some point, just holding on by the very little skin we have left on our fingertips is not going to cut it. They will inevitably win. They are winning. We have to make a stand of some type, and a political stand is not it. They are not afraid of our political powers. They've already seen that the masses can be duped. They can trick, fool, and manipulate the system to where they no longer have a political concern or worry. They must be met with force. It doesn't have to lead inevitably to violence, but they must see that we are capable of it on a large scale, that we stand together on a large scale. It cannot be, I believe in the Second Amendment, but it cannot be, oh, I believe with these mandates, but I don't believe with these mandates. But no, we all must be united against the federal government. That means 10 out of 10 people that you go up and ask, do you believe the federal government is tyrannical? They say yes, 100%. And I am willing to die to defend the freedoms of my family and the generations to come. They have to see that. Now the issue is how do we show them that? Because the voting pools are not it. I just told you they are not afraid of us politically. Now, the reason why Joe Biden comes out and says the dumb shit he says about weapons and the Second Amendment is because he is afraid of that, because he doesn't know what he's talking about. They don't know how to manipulate that, even if they could. So this is where we meet them in the sand with the things that they do not know about. They don't know that they have already surpassed what Great Britain did to the colonialness, to the colonies, and given us the reason to use the Second Amendment. And we never had to take that first shot. I think more or less the biggest hang up here is they believe if we do what actually needs to be done, if we take it to the front lines, if we physically draw that line in the sand in Washington, D.C., so that all eyes can see that it cannot be censored, that they know the inevitable is the Biden administration, the DNC, and the people who are in power are too ignorant not to take the first shot. And so they know that bloodshed will be inevitable. But understand that them taking the first shot, us fighting for freedom, us not pursuing violence, but doing everything up to that will put us on the right side of history. We can only prepare and train so long before those tactics and procedures have to at least be displayed. There is a reason America, China, Russia, all of these big global powers just go out and show their abilities every once in a while. Because if all they did was train and hide in the woods, it would do them no good. They know that bringing those things out in the open and showing the other countries that they are capable and they are more than willing to, this actually promotes, it wouldn't be promotes violence, but promotes non-violence. It shows the federal government that we are trained, that we do have and possess what's necessary to stop them from being tyrannical. It is what has to be done to avoid violence. It is just that simple. Being good conservatives and not doing what the Democrats do because it's wrong has lost us so many arenas. It has lost so many of our children to their propaganda that it is ridiculous. We have to show them the physical line in the sand because they do not believe us. They do not think they are capable or that we are capable of doing anything that we talk about. Words and words alone will not solve this. And that is exactly why politics is not the answer. An old rich asshole standing up and arguing with another old rich asshole is never going to solve anything. It hasn't for the last 50 to 100 years. Every once in a while, somebody, more than likely, somebody younger than the old guys in Congress, has to stand up to the bully, has to say, hey, I don't want to break your fucking nose, but I will if I have to. Because what you're doing is not only not working, but it is wrong. It's destroying this country, and you have left us no other options. That is what our forefathers did. They laid out their grievances. They said what had to be done for violence not to be brought to action and to the table, and Britain shit all over it, stomped all over their line in the sand, and that is what led us to the Revolutionary War. We are there. That is the timeline. If you want to know how this timeline plans out, the federal government has told us our line in the sand does not matter. They are going to continue to take, whether we have bad actors or they convince crazy people to do crazy things, they will come for our Second Amendment. They will not stop. There was leaked documents not too long ago that said high capacity revolvers. I told you, if you think them getting AR-15s is their end goal, you are out of your mind. It actually makes no sense to go after the AR-15s because the AR-15s do not cause the most crime nor murder. Inversely, they probably save more lives than they do cause murder. If they want to stop gun violence, they have to go for the handguns. And that includes the revolvers. That includes these weapons that they say is actually protected under the Second Amendment, and they will come for those. They already are coming for those. There is no bounds that they will stop at to take our freedoms and liberties. It's at what point will we refuse to say that the only option is to run and hide in the woods? We are almost shooting ourselves in the foot, literally. And this happens in a lot of different aspects with a lot of different scenarios. But it's as if we bought these rifles for the worst case scenario, and in my mind, the maybe not the most likely 10 years ago, but probably the most likely now, but at least the biggest threat that we face is a federal tyrannical takeover. That is why a lot of us buy the firearms that we buy. Well, some people don't buy things in the right order. They might buy a plate carrier with no plates. They might buy an AR-15 with no optic. They might buy it all but never seek out any training. This is what we are doing when we are implementing the Second Amendment. We have told them the AR-15 is the most popular rifle in the United States. We have sent people to Congress to hear our grievances, to tell them that we think they are tyrannical, they are brainwashing our children, and we are tired of it. We are doing many of the steps that is necessary to get this going to where we need it to go. Yet we always stop short. And part of me thinks that we always will stop short. And I don't know what that reason is, because I know some of these guys that say those things. When they come from my family, that's when I'll step in. But those are the same guys that know if they wait until they come for them, there will be nobody left to help us. So we have to change that mindset. We did the right thing. We are on the right side of history. We waited. We did not go on the offense. We did not force our ways onto the federal government. They did all that. Now everything that we do from here on out is protecting our line in the sand, is protecting our children and the generations to come. It is to it is to keep safe and preserve the Second Amendment, our freedoms, our liberties for generations and generations to come. Therefore, our next step, any step, is on the defense. So you no longer have to justify. If you are not openly going out and committing murder for the sake of murder, or doing something illegal just to be a criminal, then we are on the defense already. If we gathered in Washington, D.C. to make one more cry, to have them hear our grievances, as long as it was united and well organized, it would still be in defense. It would not be offensive. It would be us doing one more thing before the violence ensued. And I don't even think there is any scenario that plays out where the law abiding, Second Amendment loving, constitutional supporting and protecting people of this country ignite the flame of violence first. So that's not even realistically something we have to worry about. But we do have to show up. Because if we don't show up, they will show up at our doors, and they have no problem committing the violence. We've talked about this before. The big difference between the numbers games when it comes to civilians versus the military and the federal government is we might have 50 plus million people that say they love our freedoms and liberty in the Second Amendment. They might actually own firearms and train them, but they are not willing to use them for what they are intended to be used for, whereas the United States government may only have a couple of 100,000, but those people have those weapons, train with those weapons, and are willing to, at a drop of a dime, if Uncle Sam says so, to use that violence and those skills. That is the difference. That is why we lose. We have to change that mindset. None of this makes us bad people. This makes us freedom-loving patriots that have finally reached the point where there is no return, that we have to do something. The less violent, the better. But even if it comes to that, like I said, there is no scenario that plays out where we take the first shot, because they already have. But I'm super sick as fuck. I just wanted to make something, so there was something out this week for you guys to listen to. It seems almost that I continuously talk about the same thing for the last 3 or 4 podcasts, because to be honest, if we can't get over this hump, we might as well stop climbing the mountain, because it is inevitable that the tyrannical takeover will defeat us, because there are just far too many people that are willing to lay down their rifles until it's too late. There are too many people that train and do all the cool guy shit, but aren't willing to do the cool guy shit when it comes down to it. That it's almost starting to become hopeless. And I keep talking about the same thing because I don't want that to be true. I know there is enough good people that just say stupid shit on the internet because they think that if they put disclaimers out, if they say only in Minecraft, that somehow this will protect them legally. We are beyond that point, brother. We're beyond that. If they legitimately took you as a threat, it wouldn't matter what you said after. They would eliminate your ability to say anything. And with that said, if anybody, and because I don't I'm not very good with making connections and talking to people outside of my small, you know, gun community on Instagram. If anybody can get me in touch with Risky Krisky, Krisky or whatever the guy's name is, he wears the ski mask. He goes over a lot of small unit tactics. I think he is on to something here. He is one of the few people that isn't talking about hiding out in the woods by yourselves and eating squirrels. He's talking about real world unit tactics to fight with small arms against bigger units like the federal government. I think he has the mindset that we need to try to make others adopt. He's also one of these people that says, the disclaimers and the in Minecraft. But like I said, I think that's so he can play the game and promote his channel and get out to more people. And since he is so much better than me as far as explaining how tactics work and yada, 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 I would love to get him, especially once I get my camera back up and we can do the dual screen lives. I would love to do something with the Risky Krisky and maybe just talk about some of the more philosophy type of things when it comes to the federal government against we the people type of conversations to just see how much he is or isn't on the same page as myself. But with that, guys, I'm sick. I got to work tonight. You guys stay safe, stay prepared. God bless America first. And before I say peace, y'all, I don't know if I'll be able to do this, but this is the new one. The Mark 12's coming along. Hopefully, I can show it to you. Oh, we got a. Well, I don't know if I can flip the camera. I hate using my phone for these stupid things. Nope, not gonna let me do it. I'll just post it later. Anyways, God bless. America first. Peace, y'all.